Guys, how is it going? Welcome to Hold On Mate podcast. This is a bit of a different one to post up. I personally have had to just take a step back on a bunch of things. Although I do this podcast and do a bunch of other things where I give my time up to speak to other people, hopefully help other people, and really just use my experience or my journey to hopefully have a positive impact on people that are going through a struggle at the moment, whether it's mental health, anxiety, dealing with ADHD, and just to understand a bit more of their journey. So I had to take a step back because I felt like I'd taken too much on, and it just had an effect on me, to be honest. So that's why I haven't put a full podcast up this week. I have to listen to my own advice and my own lessons learned from experiences. So I did, and I do feel a lot better for it. On what I want to do on this mini episode, we'll call it, I just want to talk about how sport became my framework, I suppose, for living with ADHD. So that's prior to getting diagnosed, and whilst getting diagnosed but waiting for medication, and post receiving medication, which is where I'm at now. So I'm going to read what I've written to you, and hopefully some of it makes sense. For me personally, sport and exercise, and certainly community as well, as I've spoken about before, is such a huge part of my framework to deal with ADHD. One of the biggest things for me is being able to talk things through and communicate, something that I never felt I could do before, or felt that I had people that I could communicate with or talk to before. So that is probably the biggest lessons learned for me to date, is talk about how you're feeling. You know, this doesn't have to be a woke situation, but it's really important to talk about how you're feeling, get it out there. People that listen are the people who care about you, and if people aren't interested, then don't bother. You're not losing anything. If people aren't interested in helping you and giving you their support, then they're not really people you want to have sitting at your table. Anyway, I'm going to crack on. So I'm going to read this off my laptop, which I've got here, and I've written all the notes because I've written it in a way that's going to sound a lot better than if I just, ramble on. So how sport became my framework for living with ADHD. After finishing my professional career in Thai boxing, I needed a new challenge. And I found that challenge in endurance sport. Endurance sport, running, triathlons, cycling, and more recently, high rocks. So what started as a way to stay fit quickly became something a lot more significant for me. In 2025, at 37 years old, so last year, I was diagnosed with ADHD, and that diagnosis brought a lot of clarity. For years, I'd experienced impulsivity, restlessness, and a constant need for stimulation. I often made quick decisions without fully thinking them through, and I struggled at times with consistency outside of environments that demanded structure. And I still struggle with that, to be honest. But endurance sports specifically provided exactly what my brain needed. So training for me, and this is not just in endurance sports, but training in general. So training for me gives me clear goals, structured routines, progressive milestones, immediate performance feedback, and a healthy dopamine release. And when I say healthy dopamine release, the unhealthy side is impulsive buying, impulsive drinking, impulsive drugs, and all of the shite that comes with it. The dopamine rush I get from sport, from maybe not being motivated, but having the discipline to go and train, especially with other people, and that feeling of achievement once finished is a massive dopamine hit, and it's the best dopamine hit for me, and I love it. Um, so for some reason, and for someone with ADHD, which if you have it or think you have it, you'll understand this. But for someone with ADHD, that combination of clear goals, structured milestones, passive milestones, etc., that combination is powerful. Running sharpens my focus. Long bike rides settle that mental noise. Triathlons, they satisfy my need for complexity. Swimming, cycling, running. They all require different skills, and the transitions and the complexity and the planning and the structure is amazing, and I get a massive hit from that. Dealing with different pacing strategies and different mental approaches, and high intensity sessions give me a controlled outlet for energy that might otherwise show on the impulsivity side of things. So it's a bit of a swap from what I used to do. So sport has become a framework for decision making and discipline. I've always done sports at quite a high level, but to now have the diagnosis and be able to understand more about myself, mixing those two together, so having the sport, knowing the positive effect it has on me is just such a good place to be. So where my ADHD once felt like a disadvantage, I've learned to channel its strengths. So hyper focus in training blocks, high energy outputs in races, resilience under physical stress. I love that side of things. And the drive to consistently improve. So the key has been directing that intensity into something constructive. But one part of this, and I've learned this bit recently, is having ultra focus. So someone like me with ADHD, and just the way my brain has always worked, is if I'm interested in something, I will put 110% into it, and I won't stop until I've got the results that I want. But what that's caused previously is massive burnout. Take things on that are a little bit less 110% focus in a bunch of different things. But that's the reason I had to take a little bit of a step back for myself personally, and press the reset button. So I'm still learning that side of things. But I also love the fact that I can put a business plan together so quickly, or with my job, that I've got a start date and an end date, and I've got a whole program of works in between. And I'm so focused on hitting those goals. That's what makes me a great project manager. Community has played a huge role for me. Running and training for Manchester and London Marathon this year, I don't think I would have completed or been able to complete both if it wasn't for the amazing people that I trained with every Sunday. And cycling, I cycle on my own a fair bit, but I also cycle with a bunch of mates. I'm a member of a cycle slash triathlon club as well. And it's great to cycle with people who are better than me and stronger than me, because it's the same scenario as not being the smartest person in the room. Otherwise, you're not learning anything. So I love to train with people that are fitter, stronger, and have that same mindset as me. If you're all there for the same reason, it just means you're going to improve. There's no way you're going to go backwards. So I suppose those two training blocks have strengthened both my accountability and my consistency. Getting up in the winter early morning, knowing that if I didn't, I'd have a bad race. So staying consistent, that has absolutely been a great feeling of achievement once you get to the race day. And then training alongside other people just creates structure just beyond some sort of online program. It builds belonging and shared momentum. So it's all well and good, going and paying for a program, and you know I've spent this money, so I'm going to stick to it. But actually, once you've paid the money, and this is something I've learned about myself. Once you've paid the money and you've got the program there, it's then up to you to stick to the program. And doing it on your own or doing it on my own is just not fun. I just don't enjoy it. The only time I enjoy training alone is when I'm going for a cycle. If I've had a shitty day or a stressful day, and I just want to have no music or maybe a little bit of music, but nothing loud, just background, and just go around Richmond Park and have a cycle. And I come back home and I feel great. But going on to music, I never used to really train with music at all. But what I've learned, and especially with bone conducting headphones, so you can actually hear what's around you. What I've learned is actually, if you've got a really good playlist, it makes a massive difference. And for me, someone with ADHD, I like to listen to the same playlist. I know what songs come in next. And as weird as this sounds, it pushes me forwards, knowing what song's coming up, because then I can start to get excited about the next rhythm and the next beat, especially with running and the marathon. That really helped me. So I suppose that balance helps regulate focus and maintain intensity. And it's just a small adjustment I've made. I mean, I love music in general, but I never used to train. I always used to think it was important to just lock in and have no outside distractions. But actually, music is such a big help. And I found myself now, rather than going home, putting the TV on and just doom scrolling, I get home and I'll close my eyes and put some music on, and that's a massive relaxation for me. So all of these things I'm learning about myself. So I suppose looking ahead, or looking back actually, so major events like London Marathon, Manchester Marathon, they weren't just races for me; they were milestones, with a structured system that sort of kept me grounded and kept me progressing. The sport hasn't changed who I am. It's just helped me understand how to operate at my best. So for me, endurance training isn't just about performance. It's about harnessing ADHD in a way that builds discipline, clarity, and gives me forward momentum. And for me, that's transformative. And I really hope that some of you can relate to this, or at least some of you who are struggling with motivation or discipline or whatever you want to call it, or impulsivity, and don't understand why, but haven't focused their attention on sports and commuting and training with like-minded people. Like, give that a go, because it makes a massive difference. And you can just be yourself. That's the most important thing for so many of us. that are neurodivergent, we mask so much because we cannot be ourselves because we feel like we're too blunt or we're too outspoken. We might upset someone. And in reality, stop catering for everyone else and be yourself, because that will make you a lot happier. We are empathetic, we are caring, we are cheerleaders, and there is absolutely nothing negative about any of them. The only negative is the fact that we can read the room very quickly. We have a very, very good instinctive feeling about situations, people, and we make decisions quite quickly based off them. So although I think that's a massive positive, some people might call it a negative, but don't stop being you. And I've said this to a few people recently, don't stop doing what you're doing because you're a cheerleader, you're bigging people up and you're helping them move forwards when they might be feeling a little bit low or set back. So that's me done. Have a great week and yeah, hold on. Catch you all soon.